Well, good everybody, or good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Morton with Let's Talk About It. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Remember, guys, I am on Spotify. I'm going to be on a couple more audio. Uh, um, what do you call it? You'll be able to listen to the show in several other places here real soon. But we currently broadcast live on Facebook, on YouTube, and I'm hoping Rumble. I'm having some issues getting our stream set up with Rumble now that I have a uh, uh, premium pay that I pay for them. So I am not sure what's going on with that. But Let's Talk About It is about you. I do this podcast to bring the average person on to talk about their story, those folks who are maybe making a difference in the lives of other people and who have something to share. And so that's what this is all about. Today, we're going to be talking about Christine. We're going to be talking to Christine Hall. But before we talk about that, next week's show, to me, is extremely important. I'm going to have attorney Todd Richardson on the podcast, and he is representing two doctors who have been persecuted, in my opinion, through the state of Washington. Their case has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court kicked it back down to the appellate court. So I'm going to have the two doctors along with attorney Todd Richardson on the broadcast next week to discuss their situation. I'm aware that there's another attorney named Jaffe who is representing John Stockton, former basketball player, who is also somehow embroiled in this lawsuit. And it all stems from these doctors being silenced during the COVID thing and then literally sued by the state of Washington to the Washington Medical Commission. So that's a big show for me because I was very involved in fighting the lunacy that COVID represented, the mask mandates, and all the things that happened, and all the people who lost their jobs, and certainly all the people who lost their lives. That's another whole conversation and possibly another whole show. But unfortunately, in the American world, we tend to move on. And I don't think we need to move on from this particular court case. And I hope these doctors prevail against the state of Washington and also recover from what they've been through. So that's going to be a big show for me. Personally, it's a big show. I hope you can tune in. Today's guest is Christina Hall. She is a wellness life coach. She has a story to tell. Her last name is Hall, and she wanted to be on the podcast. A friend of mine who I had on the podcast, Levi, who does hypnosis, recommended I talk to her. We talked, and well, without further ado, let me introduce you to Christina Hall, life wellness coach from Germany, a small town in Germany. Hi, Christina. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Well, now listen, as always, I always like to give the guests an opportunity to give us like a 5-6 minute background, where you come from, who you are, and just bring us up to date.
Bring you up to date. All right, let's do it in 5 minutes and interject me if at any point. But all right, I'm a German girl from small town. We had one stoplight, that was it, and never thought I would ever move anywhere else, let alone to the U.S. Across the pond. I grew up as a statistic, and when I say that, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. It's called Hashimoto's. It's when your thyroid is pretty much attacking your body, and a chronic pain condition with scoliosis when I was 10 years old. Now, from that point on, I was put in a box because I was struggling with this disease, because doctors told me from the start that there is no cure to that. You just have to manage. You hopefully can manage. And that was it. Like, you will be on lifelong medication and never recover from it. The other thing that they told me pretty early on when I was a teenager is that I probably won't be able to have kids. I can already get used to that idea that I may be able to adopt kids or do anything else, but not have them naturally, because it's very unlikely with how the disease was for me personally. So I struggled with that, and I didn't really know. I mean, as a teenager, you didn't know if you want to have kids or not, but just having the option taken away is pretty harsh. And all of that came down to I became like a shell of a person because I lived with those daily symptoms, with the daily pain, and I wasn't me anymore. Like when I was younger, I was very playful. I was the entertainment. I was the star of every show, so to speak. Like I love to make other people laugh, and there were always strangers like commenting on to my parents about me, and that was gone. Like I was from that point on, I was labeled as the introvert, the shy one. I would not speak. Like it was so bad that I didn't want to speak. Like every time somebody spoke to me, I crumbled up into like a little ball, and I would cry instead of speaking. And then when I spoke, they were like, "Oh, I speak up, I can't hear you." And then that would like shut my confidence down even more. And it was pretty bad. But that was like my life for, I would say, the better part of 20 years. And I tried all the things. Like my parents got me from one doctor to the next to a specialist, and we did this cure and this holistic treatment and whatever else. I had handful of pills. I had shakes and drinks that I had to drink that I didn't like, and nothing really worked. Some things worked for a while, but nothing really stuck. And it wasn't until 2013, 14 when I researched a few things. And it's pretty interesting that in your intro, you talked about COVID and that whole era. You have to just do your own research. You have to look deeper, because just because somebody says something doesn't mean that it's true for you. And so that was my struggle, like growing up. I had no confidence, and all the people that were supposed to be your mentors at that time, during that time growing up, like your teachers, your coaches in the sports arena and all of those things, like everybody told me that I should just stick around. I should not go for any big goals because I'm just too shy. I'm too introverted. I'm not good enough for certain things. And that stuck with me for a long, long time. And it wasn't until I met my husband in 2004, 21 years ago, it's crazy, that, a whole other world opened up. And if it wasn't for blindly falling in love and having those rose-colored glasses on, I don't think I would have left my hometown. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have taken in, the different opportunities, and wouldn't have experienced a lot of things. Because actually, funny fact, my English teacher back in high school told me, do not take a job where you have to speak English, let alone go anywhere where you have to speak English, a different country, because people won't be able to understand you. Just don't do it. And
so I'm going to ask a couple of questions
yeah.
here. So when did you, I guess the turning point was when you were diagnosed, and then people started treating you differently. What broke down your enthusiastic young girl personality? Was it the diagnosis, or the way people treated you because of the diagnosis?
Both. I didn't understand the diagnosis first when I heard it, because at 10 years old, like it doesn't mean a lot, right? But it was more of how people treated me. It was with how my family treated me, and then me constantly getting sick. Like, you have to imagine, I was at the doctor's pretty much every 2 weeks. And it got to a point where they gave me antibiotics, and the antibiotics wouldn't work anymore. And the doctors pretty much said to my mom, "You're on your own. Like, hopefully she recovers." But like, there was they didn't even have any medication anymore to treat me that would work.
So you went through your formative years, high school, became a teenager, and a young adult with this stigma. You call it being put in a box.
Yes.
So then 21 years married. So you met your husband, I'm assuming, shortly around 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you much older than that. Tell us how that happened.
That happened. That there are no coincidences in life, right? When you everything is meant to be for you, well, that is meant to be for you will find you, and that is how I felt with that. That story is crazy because for two reasons. One, I just went out. We met. My husband and I met in a club that I've never been to. I wasn't a club person, really at that time, and I just had met new friends that I was hanging out with like 2-3 months before that, and they invited me to go with them one night. It also, mind you, it was a cold, snowy day in Germany. There was ice on the road, and I was like, I don't know if I should go with them. Don't really know them that well yet. And anyways, for some reason, whatever, I went with them. And my husband, also, he just got back the day before from Iraq, from a tour to Iraq, and he was not supposed to. He didn't want to go out, but he was the designated driver for his friends, and also ended up at that club. And it was like, I don't know, I'm aging myself with this, but remember those teenage movies back in the 90s, and back in the 90s, late 90s, when they always had the prom or whatever, and then it was at the end, it was the light was at the couple in the middle dancing. That's what it felt like when my husband walked in the club. He had this light on him, and I was like, I have to meet this guy. I don't know how and who that is, but he walked in and that was it. And it turns out that he actually was friends with the group of friends that I came to the club with. And that's how we started to hang out and, get to know each other a little bit more.
I think I hear your youngest in the background.
Yeah, I'm sorry. She just woke up from the nap. She's taken care of.
Okay, so kind of a love at first sight thing happened all those years ago.
For me, yes.
For you,
he would tell you. He would tell you he didn't dare to talk to me because he thought I was 12 years old.
What?
Yeah, because I always looked younger than I am, and in Germany it was at that point younger kids went to clubs all the time, like it wasn't a big deal. So he thought like he's not gonna get in touch with like an underage person.
He's an American soldier, I'm assuming, or Marine.
Yes,
I don't know what branch he was in.
Yeah.
And so you meet him in the club, and then how does this shy, demure, in a box, quiet person, and what happened? What happened? You started dating each other? I'm curious to know how this progressed.
It took a while because where I lived, like in that small town I lived like right in the center of town, and like there walking distance there was a bar, and I knew that he was hanging out there because my new friends were hanging out there, and I was like, I'm gonna hang out there. And just by being present, right, I didn't talk much, and it still took. So we met at the end of January, and then it took like another 3-4 weeks before he actually asked me out, and we started hanging out. And then we officially started dating like in end of February, and he like 2 weeks into the relationship, because don't think that I was talking a lot. Like I didn't have any confidence, nothing like that. But love, I guess, makes you a little bit more outgoing. I don't know. But he said even like into a few weeks into the us dating, he's like, well, if you do not talk to me or start talking to me more, I'm going to have to end this, because I'm not going to just sit there and, stare at each other. And the thing at the time, too, was that, yes, in Germany, we learn English, and he only speaks English. We learn English in high school, and I've been taking it at that point for like 6-7 years. But I could read and write and do all the things, but speaking another language is a whole different thing that I had to think about like every word and translate it in my head before I could say it. And I was also like having no confidence and not really liking to speak. Everything that I said had to be perfect in my mind because otherwise people would not like me. That was a big deal for me, that I only would speak up if I knew or said something if I knew that it was something worthwhile to say, that, had a meaning or was right or could make a difference for someone. But I wouldn't talk a lot in general. But yeah. And now let me tell you, he's regretting that sentence, because now I'm not shutting up.
Well, that's good. Now you ended up getting married, and then the ideal of leaving Germany, leaving your hometown and everything you knew. The reason why this is kind of interesting to me, because my mother-in-law, who's gone now, she during the days of the Nazi era, she met a GI, and she left Germany, and she didn't go back for 44 years. So your story is kind of resonating with something that is, near and dear to me. But anyway, you pack a bag. Tell us how that all happened and how long after you married him did you end up in the United States? Or did you marry him before you came over here? Tell me. We're going to spend a little bit more time on that, but because I think that's important to your story. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we met 2004. He had to leave to another assignment in 2006. And so we were dating for 2 years. And I did not know, because girlfriends don't have any right in the military, right? And especially not like being in Germany. I would have had no idea how to get a hold of him, because social media back then wasn't also very big. Cell phones weren't the cell phones that we have now. And so he left, and I didn't even know if he would call me when he got to the States. I had no idea. Luckily, obviously he did.
Right.
And he found out. So he got back. He was stationed in Texas. I, at that point, just started college. I think I was in my second or third term. And we thought about it, what is the best thing to do here? And so in 2006, he got to his new duty station, and he was told pretty soon that he is going to deploy again. So for us, it didn't make sense that I would, come over and in the middle of college, at least see where it's at, where everything's at when he gets back from deployment. And that deployment was a year deployment. So it was quite a bit of time anyways. But also very important to know, I have at that point, I never really left Germany. The only thing what we did for vacation was we drove over to Austria. I was in Italy, but everything was driving distance. So I've never been on a plane to go anywhere. And when he got stationed in there, he was like, before I leave on deployment, let's come visit, since I had my not vacation, but break from my studies. And I booked a plane ticket for 3 weeks to visit him. And we visited. We actually went to Oregon. His family's in Oregon. And
really?
We were there. Go ahead.
No, I just said, oh, really? I lived in Oregon, Portland for 30 years. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Wow. Cool. So we went there. Again, going on a plane, my parents thought, and my whole family thought it was, you're nuts. Because again, I'm the one that never did anything, never speaks up about anything. And here I am going on alone, flying to the US, never flown, all the things. And well, get here, had a great time, to cut it short, sorry. But that is an important piece of that whole story. And he actually, on that vacation, we were talking about, okay, long-term planning, if this really works out, if we make that long distance thing work for now, where is it ending up in marriage, and what does that look like, right? And we were actually, because I knew from movies, that your guys's American engagement rings are really nice. We don't have that in Germany. And
really?
So I'm like, let's
go ahead.
Let's
I
go
didn't know
shopping.
that.
Yeah,
What do you guys put on? I mean,
we just have plain wedding bands almost. There are no diamonds or anything like that.
Okay.
And so
I didn't know that.
yeah. So the whole experience for me was like, yeah, let's go to a jewelry store, and look at it, because that's exciting. What girl wouldn't love that, right? So we went there and we looked at it, and the prices shocked me. Again, Germany is very, like, I guess, frugal in that department, but we went there, and I looked at all the things, and I was like, wow, that's amazing, and they showed us all the different rings, and I got to try some on, and that was really exciting and really cool. And then, but my husband always, like, he's very good about jewelry and any type of gifts, and he asked them, like, I want something different, because back then it had the one was like the engagement ring with like this big stone, and then you had the wedding band that had the two other stones, and it would fit together. Right. And he's like, I want to see something different. Like, what else do you have? What is there another style you have? And they go back and bring out that ring from the back. It wasn't even laid out anywhere. And I tried it on, and I fell in love with it, right? And he fell in love with it. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, we're not going to spend that money on a ring like that. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, so after that, we like leave, but he goes back in because he's like, I have to go to the bathroom before we go to the next stop. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. I did not know he went back in to buy that ring at that point.
That sounds like an American. I get that one.
Like, and then like we went to eat with his family and a couple friends, and I went to the bathroom there, and he showed everybody the ring. And when I came out, everybody had like this look on their faces, and I'm like, what do I have? Do I have toilet paper stuck to me somewhere? Like, what is going on? And no, he just showed them the ring, and I had no clue. And then it was like a couple days later, and also I have to say, he's not the outdoorsy guy or anything like that, but he said, let's go hiking, to Mount Hood. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And we went, and at that point, he also was a smoker still. So he had like one cigarette after the other. We were hiking up a little trail there. And he was so like, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, he was so nervous, and his palms were sweating. And I'm like, what is going on? And then we were at a little outlook over the landscape, a little higher up. There was a lodge there. And he proposed right then and there. Of course, there's no videotaping. There are no pictures, no nothing, because I had no clue, right? But so we got engaged. All that to cut it short. We got engaged there in 2006. And after that, he deployed and I went back to Germany. And we had a long distance relationship for 4 years after that. It wasn't until 2010 that I came to the States. But in the meantime, that is another story. Like 2 years later, after he got back from deployment, and I tried to visit, every time I had a break from college. In 2008, early 2008, we started talking about, okay, when's a good date to get married? Because at that point, it's been almost 2 years being engaged. And we knew also that there was another deployment coming up for him again. Like he was going back and forth constantly, a year and then a few months off and a year back to deployment. And so I'm like, I just want to have more. I want to have more rights. I want to, be able to contact you and be in the know and know where everything is in terms of the military side of things. So what is the next steps? And we looked into it, and I'm like, I want to get married in Germany because my family doesn't travel. They're not going to come over here. So how do we do that? And we looked into it, and there was a lot of things that Germans need for, somebody from another country to get married in there, like all the documentation and all the translation and all the things. And it was just a lot. And so we were looking at what else can we do. So in March of 2008, I came to visit him in Texas. And on a Tuesday, the first week I was there, I think, he said, like, hey, I have a half day on Thursday. Do you want to get married on, go down to the court and get married? And like, sure. Like, I didn't know what that meant. Like, it kind of felt like to me, like, yeah, let's go to a chapel in Las Vegas and like do this thing, whatever.
You did watch a lot of movies.
Yes.
Okay,
stereotypes that you have in your head. Yes.
So you guys end up getting married.
We
You
got
didn't get
married
married
there.
in Germany. Did you?
We did still have a
Two?
church wedding in Germany, yes, for my
Okay, good.
family, because they didn't understand when I got off the plane back to Germany and I said, yeah, I'm married now. They're like, no, you're not. We weren't there. It didn't happen. They didn't
Okay.
want to, realize it. But it was legal and all the things.
So, how many siblings do you have, brothers and sisters?
I have one sister and she's 9 years older than me.
9 years older than you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to kind of bring this back to the heart of what we're going to be talking about
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Anyway, you mentioned in the beginning, in the first 5 minutes, that you were told you couldn't have any kids.
Yes.
But I heard a baby in the background, or a young child. You obviously had. How many kids do you have?
I have two kids.
And their ages are?
Almost 10-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And this is from a woman who was told she couldn't have kids.
Yes.
And you're 21 years married to this amazing man, apparently. You mind if I ask you what is his name?
His name is Ryan.
Ryan. Okay. So now Ryan and you live here in the Puyallup area?
Yes, in Puyallup.
Is he still in the military?
He retired after 23 years in 2020.
I really salute his service. I'm ex-Navy. So, okay. So now you sent me this picture, and I'm going to put this picture up on the screen, okay?
Yes.
Who is that person?
It's hard to say, but that's me. And I like looking at that is just insane to me because I was in my 20s. That was a picture, like a selfie I thought I took, and looked good in it. And like looking at it, I don't even know who that person is looking at that anymore. But to me, I can see it. Like I can see the struggle.
Were you married in this picture, or this before you got married?
I think it was right before. It was right around that area.
So I guess before you continue, some guy walks into a bar and he sees that person and spends the next 21 years of his life with her and fathers two children. This is it's kind of a really romantic story that you're telling me here. But you didn't like that person.
No. Because it wasn't me.
Okay. Well, hang on.
Yeah.
I took the wrong one out. I'm going to get rid of the person that wasn't you.
Yeah.
Now tell me, Christina, what happened?
A lot of things happened. And I think, and that's why I loved like what you're going to talk about next week, actually. Like I'm going to tune in because that's a very dear topic for me too. And I'm passionate about that. And that's what I want everyone to encourage on here that's listening. Because I told you, I struggled for 20 years. I listened to all the doctors. I did all of the things. And that is what I got out of it, right? You can see it in my face that I wasn't happy deep down. I wasn't feeling good. And I was just going by. And I feel like that's a lot of people these days. It's like you're a shell of a person because you cannot be you anymore. Might it be for physical health reasons, for mental health reasons, for struggling financially, for not having social relations because everybody's just hustling and working and having to do all the things they think they need to do. That just was, it's just such a big topic for me. But what happened was that I actually learned to listen to what my body needs. And I want to share this because being healthy doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this crazy routine that you have to do, this crazy diet that you have to be on. We're all thinking like when we think of healthy, it's like constantly going to the gym, working out, only, never drinking any alcohol ever again, not drinking anything but water, and that's filtered water and all the things that are out there about it. Never eating anything that we really enjoy ever again, but just being literally thriving off of salads or something and green juices or whatever else. But it doesn't have to be like that if you know your body and if you balance it in a good way. And what I've learned, what nobody ever told me, is your body needs 3 things that you need to do, or that it does naturally every single day. And that it detoxes. That's why we go to the bathroom. We need to fuel it, because our bodies need fuel to have the energy so that we can do all the things. And not even like crazy things like run a marathon, but even like just thinking, just sleeping, moving around, doing your daily tasks. Your body needs to be fueled. Otherwise, you're going to feel that afternoon crash and brain fog, and you don't remember why you're going into a room and what you needed there. And then the third thing is you need to protect your body because of all of the stuff that is thrown at us. And that is like, toxin is a big buzzword. I almost don't want to use it, but have to. Everything that you can think of, from what you're wearing, what you're putting on your skin, what you're putting in your mouth, to when you go outside, the air, air quality, when you're sitting in front of your computer, especially when you're working at a laptop, like being exposed to that all day. How many times, like how many people do you see that they're constantly looking at their phones and having the phones and the earbuds in their ears and all of the things like that is all affecting us. And we need our body to help it so that it doesn't affect us as much. And that's like, it sounds really complicated, but it's not. And your body can do it as long as you're balancing it. But a lot of people are being blocked from effectively detoxing anymore. Like, that's why there are so many detox programs and diets and whatnot out there. But if our body cannot do that, that's when, it's almost like when you don't take out the trash in your home and just leave the trash piled up. Like, that's not gonna be nice after a few days. It's gonna
I've been in homes where that was a standard practice, trust me, as a plumber. But wow. I get your point. So you allow the garbage to back up, build up, and become huge within the body. Go ahead.
Yes. And then that, helping to understand that there's a simple way to do that, and you don't have to take on all the cleanses and all those things. But that is another problem. If you don't take out the trash, your body's trash, your body is actually very smart. If it's getting too much, that's when we tend to gain weight, because your body is taking the trash that isn't supposed to be there, and it's not helping the body in any way, and putting like a cover around it, like our fat cells, and then just leaving it there. And that's also the other reason why a lot of people having trouble to lose weight with conventional diets, or just cutting their food in half, or doing more exercise or whatever. If your body doesn't know how to detox and get rid of it, you're gonna stagnate. You're not gonna get over a certain threshold, because your body is protecting you. Because if you would get rid of all of it, it could hurt your liver, it could hurt your kidney, and all those other organs internally too, and you don't feel it. And that's the other thing. What a lot of people also say is like, oh, I don't feel anything. They're eating whatever they want. They do all the crazy stuff. They don't really balance. But they're like, yeah, I don't feel it now. Like, I feel good, whatever. But then the little signs, like I said earlier, when you crash in the afternoon, when you need energy drinks, when you need caffeine all the time, when you can't go to the bathroom every day, when you gain that weight, when you feel those achy joints, we say like it comes with the older you get, but actually doesn't. Like, if you balance it right, it doesn't have to be that way. And sorry, I just lost my train of thought, like where I was going with that.
We're talking about getting rid of the stuff in our bodies.
Yes. Yes.
And so let me just jump in here then. Okay, so you started, I mean, you were told you couldn't have children. You
Yeah.
had this you had the what is it, Hashimoto's
Hashimoto's.
disease. You
Yeah.
had all these different things, and they kind of guided your childhood and caused you to really have a low self-esteem. But then you come over here, you get married to this guy. By the way, what did you go to school for? Was this your subject in school, or I got a feeling you're going to tell me no?
No, no, no,
Okay,
not at
okay,
all.
okay.
I
So go ahead.
I got an MBA, a good old MBA.
Okay, and what area of study?
So I majored in marketing and international management, and then a minor in English.
Okay, so then you come over here, you meet this amazing guy, and how did you begin to listen to what your body needed?
Yes, I'll tell you that. We were stationed in Texas. Texas is all year round sun. And I went to the doctor like every 2 weeks, at least once or twice a month. And they ran all the tests, and at some point they thought I'm a hypochondriac, like, because I always had these symptoms, but they couldn't find any causes or anything wrong really. And then they did a blood test, and my blood level said that my vitamin D is like bare minimum in Texas, where there's sun
Right,
year round.
right. Yeah, that's
So that
weird.
was the first time, and that was like the first time that they prescribed what they like to do. They like to pump you full of it, like a lot is good, whatever. I think I got
Don't get me started on that one.
yeah.
You give me for
I
two
have
hours.
I have
But
more stories about that that I
go
want to
ahead.
actually share. But 50,000 units of vitamin D, and I got the prescription. I took it, um, and then I talked to a friend of mine back in Germany, and she's like, "But your body is not even able to absorb that, because vitamin D is not just vitamin D; it needs all these other things in your body as well, and you should actually take, a multivitamin and some other things with it to actually being able to make it work." So I scratched that. I skipped the prescription. I took what she recommended to me. And within 2 months, I went from like a 20 level of vitamin D to a 43. And my doctor back then said, that's fine. You don't need it anymore. And I'm like, no, it's not fine. It's like, again, the minimum of level where it should be. It should be more like over 60 when you're to feel good. And so I continued it, but I did that with 900 units of vitamin D per day instead of the 50,000 units. And just because of how it works together, like, you don't have to push all of that stuff into your body and make that grand entrance, whatever. Like, just do it balanced, and every single day, make it a habit of taking care of your body. And that's when I started to research, okay, that if that works, like, what else is there what I don't know, right? And that's when I learned about, the detox, the fueling, the nourishing of your body, and the protection, like these three things. And I'm like, okay, like, how can I do that? And it's simple things that actually make the difference, and not like the radical changes and lifestyle changes that you have to do. Because I always thought that too, like, I have to, cut out sugar and not eat any sugar anymore, or now I have to work out every day. But what if I don't feel like working out? Then I feel guilty about it. And then that is like a whole other thing. Go down that road, then I won't do it again anyways. And then I just have a binge eating session because I feel so, I self-pity myself, whatever. And then it's like going down the rabbit hole of why am I doing this? And then when I have to start over, it's like a New Year's resolution. I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it on Monday. I'm going to do it next month. Instead of just like, okay, I slipped up, whatever. I enjoyed myself. It felt good in the moment. Let's move on. Like, it doesn't have to be a thing of like shame or guilt that comes with that.
I we've got about 20 minutes left in the program, and I know that this is This is actually a, a very good conversation, and I know there's a whole lot going on here. So you and I are going to absolutely have to do another show. I just want to put that out there, okay?
Okay.
Because everything you just said, my wife has lived it. I'm doing the gym thing and I'm doing all this other stuff. I got type 2 diabetes that I'm trying to get rid of. And then all this, and I'm constantly hearing my wife, yeah, I ate too much today and all. And it is a yo-yo. It is like
Yeah.
insanity
Yep.
because your emotions are all over the map, but that's what's driving all of
Yeah.
this. So
Yep.
now you were emotionally bankrupt as a child, withdrawn, and then
Yep.
you come over here and you start taking vitamin D, 900 units, and now I got this vivacious German woman, mother of two, sitting in front of me. Got to be more to it than that. Come on.
Well, there's a little bit, because after feeling better, because vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin, and it means it, like, it affects your mood, it affects a lot of things in your body. Everything is connected. Like, don't ever, that's another thing, and I have to throw that in there because it grinds my gears. Like, I'm so passionate about that. When you go for Hashimoto's, for your thyroid, you go to an endocrinologist and they only look at that. They don't look at anything else in your body. They never ask you about what's your stress level in your life. What are you eating? What is your stomach all right? Do you have any digestive issues? They don't ask any of that stuff. And that is so frustrating to me. Like, right now, like, looking back, that it could have been different. They could have actually made a difference in my life way early, and I wouldn't have to struggle for so many years. And a lot of other people, you don't have to struggle. I want to, like, shout that out from the rooftops. You do not, like, there's always another way. There's always something else. You just have to look at your body as a whole, not just a single organ, because even that is connected in your body with all the other things. And then also, like, your mental health. And that is another thing. Once I started to actually feel better and I saw the effects, like, hey, I don't need that extra energy drink, or I'm feeling better. I'm waking up and I'm not mad and frustrated, but I'm actually looking forward to the day, right? Then I looked at, okay, I got exposed to, like, personal development, and I cannot tell you, like, the exact timing anymore, but I know my dad actually encouraged me back then to read the book The Secret, and that started me down the rabbit hole of personal development. And I've read hundreds and hundreds of books since then, loving, like, all of the nonfiction, all of that. Went to Tony Robbins. I'm following Gary Vaynerchuk, like, all of those people, and I'm filling my mind every single day with the good. Like, because you have to. The media, social media, your friends, everybody's always talking about, what's wrong with everything. And that's because it's easy. That's like a human trait. It's like a reflex. It's what we do. And it's fine. I'm not judging anybody, and I don't want you to feel guilty about it, because it's normal. But we have to put more effort into the good things that we're thinking about. And that's actually how the next steps for me were, when I started feeling good, addressing, like, okay, how can I be that person again? And the next book that I read was, I asked myself, am I happy? Like, I'm not happy. Like, what does that mean to me, happiness? And I started Googling back then, and I came across the book. It's called The Happiness Project. And I read that book. And from there on, it just started down. I started researching more and more and came across more things. And it's funny, how it works. If you research and you look into something and you look for something, things appear, teachers appear. And it wasn't until, like, the biggest thing that changed everything in the regard of getting me back after I got my health back was, I did write affirmations and plastered my house with it. Like, it was literally everywhere. And I did, I don't know if you heard of her, but Louise Hay. I don't even know what she was. She's no longer with us, but she wrote some real good books. But her if for anyone struggling with self-esteem, confidence, anything like that, she has an exercise and it's called mirror work. And literally what you do is there are 4 steps, 4 stages to it. Especially for people that don't feel confident, that don't like what they see in the mirror, that, you know, don't like pictures of themselves. You go stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself. That's the first stage. Just look at yourself. And for me, that was very awkward. I couldn't look myself in the eye. Like, it was bad. And you do that every day. And again, it's a habit. It's not like, it doesn't have to be perfect right away. You might miss a day. You might think it's stupid. It's all good. But just whenever you think of it, do it. And then the next stage is you look in the mirror and you smile at yourself. Like, actually, you know, because that is another sign for our body that somebody likes us, right? It's always nice when people smile at us and not like yell at us. So do that. Again, it's a habit. Like, get used to it, get comfortable with it. For me, it took forever. It felt like forever. And then the next stage is you give yourself a compliment. You stand in front of the mirror and say, hey, Christina, I really like your smile. I really like your hair today, or whatever it is. And then the next stage after that is you stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, hey, Christina, I love you. And you can say that without like giggling, feeling awkward, wanting to run away, all of the things. And that's the ultimate thing, because it all comes back to you. You have to be confident, you have to trust yourself, and you have to accept yourself. And you are the person that has to love yourself first before anybody else. And then all of the things that come at you, you have a different filter for them. And you're not like prone to just accept what anybody else sees, because what anybody else is saying, they only see you for that moment in time, right? And not for who you are as like the person and everything that comes with you. So you can have a bad moment and somebody can say that to you and get that picture, and then it's stuck in your head. And it's like, no, it's not you. So that whole exercise helped me a lot. Anyways.
Before I forget, we've got 12 minutes left in the program. There's something that I want to show you. And
Okay.
we're going to have to get together to do that, okay?
All right.
I've got Levi, who introduced me to you. He's in the chat room right now, and he knows what I'm talking about. So ask Levi what I'm talking about when you talk to him next, because the affirmation thing that you're talking about, there's actually part of that in this thing that I'm going to show you when we can get together, okay?
All right.
I'm always telling people, particularly young boys who are being told they're bad and terrible and white privilege and Black Lives Matter and all this crazy stuff that just tears particularly men down. I always tell them, you know, when you look in the mirror, see your best friend. And learn to see that person, because that person is who you really are. And if the two of you agree, then you have a lot to offer people. And so I'm always trying to encourage people to do that. And sometimes I have to do it for myself, and particularly when I make mistakes, and we all make mistakes. You know, I've learned now at 65 years of age, the mistakes I make almost always involve other people. And so, you know, you can't throw yourself off a bridge when that stuff happens. However, you can look in the mirror and say, yep, okay, and move on. And it sounds like, before we go out of the broadcast, tell me about Joy Fuel Life. What is that? Joy Fuel Life.
It's a life fueled by joy, because it's not just happiness. I feel like, what's happiness? Usually people say, oh, this thing makes me happy, this car makes me happy, this vacation is going to make me happy. It's not. You have to start with yourself. You have to be happy right here, right now, with who you are and what you have. And that all starts like with gratitude. Like, if you want another exercise, do gratitude exercise every single day. It will be a game changer. I promise you that. But that whole journey, like I said earlier, one of the first books that I read and the questions that I had for myself was, am I happy? And I wasn't. So I went down the whole rabbit hole of what is happiness? Like, what makes me happy? And figuring that out, learning again who I am. Who is Christina? What does she like? I didn't know any of that anymore, because I never tried anything, because I didn't dare to. I wasn't confident enough. I didn't have the self-esteem to do it. And so Joy Fuel Life actually came to me on the way to work in 2013. I was stuck at a traffic light and I was thinking about it, because I'm an overthinker. I'm a people pleaser by nature. And I always think about all the things. If you want to go deep down into philosophical conversations and all the things, I'm your person, because I can go deep. And on the way to work again, I was thinking about it. And I was like, no, I want a joy fuel life. I want a life that's fueled by joy. And that doesn't mean that everything is perfect all the time. It's not, because life is life and things happen and people happen and you cannot change that. But I want everybody to have the tools that they can feel that joy, be happy, be content and satisfied with who they are and where they are in their life, no matter where they are, if they're have all the success or if they're just starting out. And I love what Tony Robbins says with that. It's like, life is not what happens to you, but what happens for you. And that's also like what I've seen whenever stuff happened to me. And there are a lot of things that I didn't even share or came close to sharing, where I almost lost my life with my firstborn, and then with another surgery I had. And then there was also like a home invasion in Texas, like all kinds of things. And all those have actually fueled me more and taught me something than if I hadn't experienced them. And I want everyone to take that away, that it's not the end, even when bad things happen. And unfortunately, they happen to all of us.
We can talk about those bad things and some of the things that you've had to overcome on the next program. I would love to have you back on. But I want to talk about, you mentioned it just a moment ago, you almost lost your life with your firstborn. And you were told you couldn't have any kids. And now you have a 10-year-old son, is it? Son or daughter?
Both girls.
Okay. So now you have raised a child. Tell me how that has affected your life. And we've got about 7 minutes left in the broadcast. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Your kids that you were never going to have.
Yeah. They changed my life. And I know that's like very stereotyped to say, but they did. And my firstborn especially, I think that was a turning point for me, that I understood that I can advocate for myself and that I can trust what my body tells me than what somebody else outside is trying to tell me, because they have to, because they are going by a book or somebody else, what they've been told. But with my firstborn, they pretty much, I gained 50 pounds during pregnancy, and pregnancy is a very specific topic. I understand that. And please go out and always seek medical advice and do all those things. But for me, I gained 50 pounds. I'm a tiny person, so 50 pounds was a lot for me. And at one of the last checkups that I had, my blood pressure was higher. Well, of course, I was driving 45 minutes to get to that appointment before I had to go to work, and I was stressed out. And I had that 50 extra pounds that I usually don't have. So yes, it was higher. And they bullied me into all those things. I have to have her now. I have to be induced, probably a C-section. 3 different doctors told me, 3 different midwives. They got us separated. My husband, luckily my husband was with me, my husband and me, and told him that he's killing his wife and his daughter. And they told me I'm killing myself and my daughter, and all the things. And they told me that I would, at this point, I would not have her naturally. So I will have to be induced and do all the medical things. And I stood my ground. I said, no, we're going to wait another day. I feel fine. Baby was monitored. Baby was fine. I'm not going to do that. And we didn't. And that was like a holy, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but that for me, it was a holy intervention, because I had a little talk with God that night. And I was like, I'm going to have this kid naturally. There's no other way. There is just no other way for me. And the next day I had her within 5 hours.
Well, I do believe in God, so yes, I get it. Okay, so
And then,
go ahead. We got 4 minutes left.
Yeah, just to finish that, they then, because they told me that when you get induced, you get something what's called Pitocin, what should usually get your labor started. And I didn't need it, obviously, because I did it without it. And they told my husband, they lied to my husband afterwards, and said that I lost too much blood and I need Pitocin so that I would not hemorrhage or whatever happens. And they gave it to me, and I went in complete shock. Like my blood pressure was like around 50. I was cold. I had like 4 blankets on me. I was shaking. I couldn't see anymore. I couldn't hear anymore. Nothing. And it took hours before I came back. And to this day, like I even had afterwards I had the report, the medical report. And in that medical report, it said it was a normal birth, nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing was mentioned about that. So there was no urgency that I needed that Pitocin, but they just wanted to give it to me because that's for whatever reason. But it's
I know what the reason was, because then they could charge you for it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
We're gonna have that show the next time you come on, because I know there's a whole lot of stuff that you have to say. You know, it blows my mind to this day that the whole world said, you have to take this shot or you're going to die from COVID. And the whole world believed it. So that's a conversation we can have at another time. I wasn't really sure about where we were going to go with this conversation today. And I got to tell you, it's been infectious listening to you. I mean,
Thank you.
My God, how do people, they just go and they type in joy, fuel, life anywhere on social media and you're going to pop up?
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Find me there. I'll pop up.
Listen, I don't want to go too long before we do a part 2 on this.
Okay.
So I've got a scheduled guest next week, which is going to be a big show for me. Yeah. Very big show. But can you come on and follow up the following week after that?
Yeah.
I have a person that I haven't been able to reach out to, and I'm not going to try anymore because I'd love to do a part 2 with you 2 weeks from today. Can we do that?
I would love that. I would be honored to do that.
There's a lot more to you that we're just kind of scratching the surface with you. I'm just thrilled to have you on. Levi, I know you're listening. Thank you for introducing me to this wonderful lady who has transformed her life, had 2 children, been married forever to a great guy, and all the things you were told as a child, everything that was put into your head, you have pretty much been able to check out, do your own research, and come to the conclusion that it really is up to us.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, Christina Hall, this has been fantastic. 2 weeks from today, Carol, we're going to have her on 2 weeks from today. So go ahead and do all the stuff that you do, my friend. And I'm going to give you the last word. We just got about a minute left. What would you like to leave the audience with?
I think you said it perfectly. Like, listen to yourself, listen to your body. It's in your hands. You have everything is in your control, even if when you think it's not. And believe me, anything can happen. You just have to believe and trust yourself. And if you need help with that, follow me on social media, because I do a lot around those topics. And I'm also happy to talk to you and reach out to me at any point. We can just have a conversation. But that is what I'm passionate about. And that's what I want to help you to achieve as well, because it's so possible for you as well.
Well, my friends, this is what Let's Talk About It is all about. It's about bringing the average person on to talk about their experiences, especially those that are helping other people, and especially those who have a story to tell, which my guest, Christina Hall, just did with flying colors. We're going to pick up part 2 in a couple of weeks. On that note, this is Jeff Morton. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk About It. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye. Bye.